Guys, so it's been quite a minute since I've done one of these, so I figured it's time because we're about to run into a transitional period, what a lot of folks would even say is the event. All these videos we've been watching all this time talking about the event. Well, essentially that's taking place right now. Within the next few weeks, you guys are going to start seeing some major things take place in the world. You guys have already been seeing all of the groundwork being laid out right now. But I personally think something major is going to take place for the 20th anniversary, September 11th. These people behind the shadows, behind the curtain, if you will, the veil, they might call it, they kind of like these significant dates. And unfortunately, things are coming to a head for them, fortunately for us, because the money changers have been in control for way too long. I mean, yes, the same money changers that ended up getting Jesus in trouble, if you will. Essentially, these same characters have been controlling and manipulating our monetary system for generation after generation, keeping us essentially in servitude, into slavery, if you will. Because if you control the means of trade, then you can essentially control the people. What people want, what people work for, what people trade for, what money is used to purchase, right? So right now you're going to see their system collapse. Very similar to what happened in the 70s. You're seeing the same kind of situation happen. When we came off of the gold standard and turned into the petrodollar, if you will, there was a bit of chaos that took place. They had to implement the credit system in order to keep things, afloat, to keep their system, their illusion going, right? All you Ron Paul people out there, you understand, the Federal Reserve Bank, how monetary system works, if you will, how our money is created. That's all coming to a close. All this is taking place in order for this to come to fruition, if you will, because it's the tool, the means of control. And what we want to do is we want to break control from those that have held humanity in their grips for all this time. We can really push back the date all the way to when we were essentially made, if you will, humanity. If you look in, the very most ancient texts that we have jotted down on clay tablets, the Sumerian tablets, and those around the same time period, you'll see a story about how we were created essentially to create gold. Okay, so when we have come to the stage where we are still mining gold for our, quote, masters, the money changers, if you will, what we are essentially doing is gathering up the gold, trading it to them for paper money, and in a sense living in slavery. We are after the shiny things that they tell us that we want. I mean, do those shiny things ever make us happy? Do they really? I mean, sure, driving a fast car and having a bunch of shiny things all over you makes you happy for a couple of minutes, but when it all comes down to it, that shit doesn't buy you happiness. The system today is wrapped around this illusion of money. You think about music today, it's all about money, get up on people, blah, 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 blah. They have essentially convinced us that we need to break away from the family unit. We need to break away from small community thinking. We need to globalize. We need everything to be centralized. We need some masters that can tell us what is good to eat, what's good to put in our bodies, right? It blows my mind that the same people that say, you know, this is my body, my choice, is the same people that are saying, please pump me full of your toxins, Mr. Government. That just has me scratching my head a bit. So I can kind of point out, look at y'all, you're chasing your tail. You're chasing your tail. You're looking like a bunch of fucking critters chasing a ball around. When you take one ant colony and you go and, you know, scoop it up and put it in a jar, right? The black ants, if you will. And then you go take the red ants and put them in a jar. You start shaking it up. They're going to be pissed off at one another, and they're going to be like, wow, you're the enemy. No, you're the enemy. That's essentially what's taking place right now. My last one of these videos, I talked about how we were on the verge of civil war. Like, they wanted that to happen. So, this whole agenda of pulling the veil out from where it's been, out, you know, uncover the populace's eyes, if you will. We had to take a step back. This whole event that y'all are talking about, we had to hold it back because people freak the fuck out. Right now, they have been steadily, like, been getting more and more of the information drift out to them, and they're steadily seeing that there's something wrong here. These patterns are showing me something that I don't appreciate, right? Right now, our monetary system is going through a collapse worldwide. The Rothschild banking cartel that has been in control of our dollar for more than 100 years. Okay, we won't even worry about the rest of the story. Let's just talk about America. The last 100 years, they have implemented their system one step further each time, right? And at this point, they've tried to hide the collapse of the system, this inflation that everybody is feeling. They've tried to blame it on pandemics. They've blamed it on wars in the past. But right now, you know, it's something that they're trying to sweep under the rug and push all these different things out there in order to blame it on, right? But all the while, it's due to printing more and more money. The money that we have in the bank essentially can be loaned out to create more money. You only need 10% of the money in the bank in order to create a loan. So think about that for a second. Say you have $1,000 that you've deposited in your local bank. Well, now they can loan me $10,000 off of your $1,000. What they did is essentially made your money less valuable and essentially created that money out of thin air to give to me. What that does is creates inflation. So your dollar buys less gas, less lumber, less hamburger, right? So over the time that we're witnessing this, usually they take their time and they do it in a slow pace so we don't notice. But over the last 6 months to a year, we've seen things happen like tenfold. Because of the last 4 years, things have been kind of taken out of their hands. Their power's been depleted. They had to take steps in order to step back into power, take the power back from us, the people. That's the thing about the American system. It puts the power in the middle class's hands. Over the course of my lifetime, I've steadily been seeing in this country, they want a rich class and they want a poor class, but they don't want a middle class, because that's where our strength lies in this country. When you have a middle class, you have less power in the upper class, and essentially less power in the lower class. If you, as a higher class, can control and manipulate the lower class, like, say, for instance, China. Everyone tries to point out, oh, this is China's fault. China is the one that's in control. Is not in China's hands. The CCP is essentially like our politicians. You saying our politicians are in control of America is like saying the CCP is in control of America. It's all the same people. They're tools. They're mechanisms. Their families get paid and they get up on the rest of us. They do dirty work and they get promised, hey, I do this dirty work and you won't kill my kids, or you'll give me set amount of money, or you'll give me book deals. You know how the system works? I mean, this is how it takes place. You know, we propped up this president over there in Afghanistan like we've propped up, you know, the Shah in Iran, 40 years ago, like we propped up Saddam Hussein, and yes, like we've propped up, Gaddafi and all these others. They supposed to did what we want them to do. Not we, you and I, but essentially the bankers, the controlling mechanisms, right? These people in the CCP are the same way. They aren't in control of America. They are essentially the people that have done their job in their country. So because the CCP has been able to control and manipulate and keep their people under tow, they have impressed the folks that essentially the money changers, right? They are the mechanism of tomorrow as far as the money changers are concerned. So if we take all the industry, all the power, all the, middle class, if you will, and we move it into China outside of America, then we have created a system where America itself is going to collapse. So you see politicians, they have steadily been doing this in decline and helping this process work, because they're under the impression they had no choice. Us, the people, haven't given them much to really be inspired by, y'all. I mean, in my lifetime, I've watched us go from family-orientated, like strong middle class, strong family units, to people fighting amongst one another, broken families, people being raised by the TV, by tablets. They're steadily pumping all of this propaganda and bullshit to our youth. They're pumping them up full of nonsense. I mean, look at how the health industry has changed. There's no money in alive people, right? Healthy people. There's no money in dead people, but there's tons of money in unhealthy people, people with ailments. Just in my lifetime, I'm seeing people, growing up with all of these different diseases that never existed before the FDA, before they started pumping all of these, vaccinations and all these different flu shots and such that they want you to have every year. It's funny that now things are starting to kind of turn into a flu shot every year. I'm kind of saying things between the lines because we don't want to get this thing blackballed, right? But when you think about making money to create a system where people are begging them to pump things in their body that essentially keeps them from having more kids. Because what we want to do as a society, right? As these terrible banking cartels see it, we want to stop all of this growth that we've been seeing. I mean, in my lifetime, the human species has doubled in population. And it's getting hard to control us. It's getting hard to manipulate all of us, right? It's getting hard for all these people to wrap their minds around this monetary system, to keep them in control with all these shiny things. Some people are breaking away from this thought process, right? We got to figure out a way to kind of cut the herd down to size. When you have a bunch of sheep and they start running amok and they're not listening to your commands anymore, you got to break them down to the sheep that are smart, the sheep that listen, the sheep that fall in line, right? So what you do is you start doing everything to shut those black sheep up. All the people that go against what society wants y'all to listen to, well, we start pushing them away. We start labeling them as all kinds of nasty names. It's funny, America, I thought, was the home of the free and the brave, and the very first amendment meant we get to speak our minds, even if people disagree with it. Since when has that changed, you guys? Since when have we started giving up our rights? Rights aren't given to us by these politicians. They aren't given us by the Constitution even. The rights are given to us by God. We're born with these rights. Speaking of God, there's this chick that I'm fond of, and a year ago we kind of butt heads on this whole God thing, and my thought process I'd just like to share with y'all and her, because I'm pretty confident she'll listen to this, and she's the one that has her legs. She knows who I'm talking about. But God can be reached by many means. It's not one path. The God that I'm connected with, right, has given all of us many different opportunities, many different paths in order to reach that entity, that spirit, that all. That's the way I look at it. I'm a part of God. You're a part of God. This tree is a part of God. All of it, in my opinion, is God. People can connect to God through nature. People can connect to God through the Holy Bible, through the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, through the Quran, through the Mahabharata, through the Buddhist teachings. There's so many different paths in order to connect with the all, in my opinion. And when we butted heads, it was because you believed that it was only one path, only one way to connect. And I can't agree with that. No matter how much I feel everything else is magical, it's like, no, I can't agree with only one pathway, only one position. The only way to reach God is this way, right? No. All of y'all have a certain path, a connection. And who am I, or who is anybody else to judge you for that? Who is anybody to say, I have the only path? I'm the only way. And I'm a big fan of Jesus' teachings. I'm a follower of Jesus' teachings, but I have reason to believe that those teachings that have been passed down to us have been altered, they have been manipulated, they have been accosted, and we need to look at them in a way that we look at gossip, if you will. When I read the Holy Scriptures, there are certain ones that I read as holy gossip. And a lot of folks will, oh, I dislike this video because you called the Holy Scriptures holy gossip. No, not all of them, but there are certain things that I have seen through my researching and looking through older texts where I can see a transition. When you look at the Roman Catholic Church, there was a lot of things that they did in order to keep us from getting the whole story. I look at them as a wall, a barrier to many parts of the story, the information that Jesus was trying to pass down to us. So it's not that I look at the Bible as something that is misproven. What I look at is I have to read between the lines sometimes because others have put their 2 cents on this story. They have taken the story that they have heard and they've jotted it down with different terminologies, different ages, means words have changed meaning. Semantics comes into play. So we need to be skeptical when we read a lot of these holy scriptures, is what I want to push out there, not just to this particular person, but to all of y'all. The same skepticism needs to come into play when we're talking about our health care, when we're talking about how we spend our money, how we raise our kids. The same thing, we need to look at patterns and we need to have an open mind. We need to stop thinking that authority figures are passing down information that is credible without looking at the proof. People keep talking about following the science, but when I look at stuff, I don't ever see documentation. Where's the documentation, y'all? I mean, where is the doctors and the scientists that have been studying these things? Where are the tests? Like, how are these different tests coming out and being used? Where's the documentation where this has been tested and this theory has been, tested by an outside source, and we have 3 different, 5 different, 10 different doctors saying this is credible information. 20 different doctors, this is credible information. When I look at Egyptian history, right? Egyptology, if I'm saying that correctly. We look at individuals that have been telling us one thing about the age of the pyramids and the Sphinx and what was going on with the Egyptians, right? And then we have this guy Robert Schoch, which is a very credible scientist, come into their world and tell them, no, this date doesn't match. Look at this water. Look at this erosion from what had to have been water. The science shows something completely different here. Let's take a look at this. He's been blackballed, right? Because this has already been written down in stone. We can't change things. How about our history of human evolution, right? We can't change things. We have been pushing a narrative for 100 years now. And what you're telling me is that's all incorrect? No, we can't tell the public that. We need to do everything to blackball these people that are going against our narrative. These kind of things are taking place all in front of us. The event that everyone has been talking about is people waking the fuck up. A lot of y'all, the 144,000, have been doing what they needed to do in order to create all this to take place. I've said a number of times, I'm here to break hold the money changers. That's my number one goal of this life. That's what my manifestations are all about. That's what I'm trying to do from the shadows, trying to do with my life. Each step
is essentially pushing that energy out there to watch the money changers lose control, and we finally, as a human species, become free. Become free to trade amongst one another without their grubby fucking paws being involved in it. We can trade our goods and give our labors without being taxed. I mean, think about all the wars. You can Google all wars or banker wars because it's the fucking truth. All wars are essentially created because of the money changers. When anybody wants to look at evil, it's the money changers. Jeffrey Epstein type stuff. All of your music industry, all of your Hollywood, all of that dirty, rotten scoundrel nastiness is all the same people. It's means of control and manipulating the higher ups. Because what is the one thing that will break the system if they find out crimes against humanity, was involved? These people are stealing little girls and trafficking them around the world for these rich, nasty motherfuckers, dude. Nasty, nasty human beings. They're the ones that are in control of your monetary system, right? They're in control of your means of education, and you're essentially your authority figures that you look up to. Some of y'all are always going to look at those people as the authority figures. But what I want you to understand, your authority figures are your grandparents. Your authority figures are the people that lived a little bit of life and jotted it down. Your authority figures are the people that you listen to and gives you chills when you fucking hear them speak, right? These are the people that say these things that you see out in the world, and it inspires you. You see these patterns come around in the world through somebody's speech, through somebody's actions. When you really look at Jesus' teachings, he's trying to explain how to do, not to say, right? How to be somebody that somebody else can look at as a shining light. Be that person. Do the things that are right even when nobody's watching. Don't do the right thing because you've got a camera on you or because somebody is going to give you a pat on the back. That's not what it's about. It's not what I'm here for, and it's not what you're here for. You are here to do these things in order to be that lighthouse, that shining light out there in a darkness. Why is all this darkness out there? It's so we can see the light easier. There's only so many of these lights that are out there, and there is so much fucking darkness, and you can get lost in the darkness, but all you need is one single candle to light up a completely dark room. And once you light that candle, you have the opportunity to light another candle, right? You never lose that flame. When you think about the Olympic torch, each one of us is an Olympic torch. And when you think about that everlasting flame that it always comes from, that is the all. We are the ocean, okay? But you and I, we're just individual droplets. There's not a whole lot special about us, We're a insignificant amount of the all, if you will. When you think about what all involves, we're just an insignificant cog in the wheel. But if we flow with the way that it all flows, and we don't stand in the way of that stuff, we feel connected to the all. We feel a part of it all. Once we break away from the control and the manipulation and from essentially a system that is outside of that grand scheme of things, that flow, that cosmic ocean, if you will. When we break away from that is when we start feeling illness, when we start feeling our energy be depleted, when we can't do the things that make us happy. We won't be happy. We need drugs and all kinds of pills and things the FDA approve, right? We need all of those things in order to keep us going, because we're outside of the grand scheme of things. We're outside of the flow. We're outside of living off of nature. We have essentially started putting man-made substances in our body, manipulating and controlling how our bodies work through man-made means. These systems are breaking us away from nature, from the all, that connection. If we sever that connection, if the money changers sever that connection, think about Jesus. Jesus broke these folks back, if you will. He went in there violently, took all their stuff, threw it out of the house of the Lord, because they have been controlling and manipulating the people against the system that the Lord has implemented. It's the same people, the same system, same means of control. And right now, you are about to see, if you step through that door, you're about to see what we have been fighting for thousands of years. What we have continued to come down here and to recreate for the people to see. The folks, the lions, the 144,000, we have continued to cycle through, piece by piece, generation by generation, building up to this moment, this event, if you will. All y'all need to do is step forward, stand in your power, and do what you're here to do. I might have stepped on a few toes with this, but all in all, I think I used the right language in order to keep this video from being accosted in any kind of way. All of it boils down to start questioning everything. Question me, dude. Don't fucking just take my word as gospel, because, I mean, I'm just one fucking guy. This is my opinion. This is my perspective. And what I encourage you to do is come to the conclusion, after you have broke everything down and you stopped listening to other people's perspectives, come to your own perspective. Come to your own conclusion. Stop being fucking lazy, dude. This is all down to laziness. People want to accept what the authority is giving them. You do this, we'll do that. You give up this so you can have this. That's what it boils down to. No. This is my world. This is my universe. This is already mine. I don't need you in the equation. I don't need your money. I don't need your gold. What does gold and money buy? It buys food, buys water, buys land. It buys the ability to live, right? So what if I don't need money in order to live? Huh. What if I don't need their money in order to survive? What if there was something that you and I could trade amongst each other without them being involved? What if there was something that essentially God has given us each year to essentially be used as money? What if there's something that they don't have any control of that we, the people, create through our labors? At one point in time, taxes weren't gold and silver, they weren't dollar bills. It was rice, it was grain, it was sheep, it was pigs, it was corn, it was soy, it was cotton, it was tobacco. It was apples and oranges, right? Apples and oranges is money. So if we, as stewards of this land, each year create abundance. What's abundance? Abundance is money. Abundance is the ability to provide for our families and have enough to trade amongst the neighbors. Money. I want you guys to wrap your minds around all of that, because that's what's going to get you through this transition, through this event. One thing I want you to look at history, and some people may not like this analogy, but it's the perfect analogy. When the Soviet Union collapsed, you had North Korea, you had Cuba. Cuba essentially broke things down to where each individual unit, family, what have you, had set a number of land and was told, grow your own food, bitches, or you're going to starve. Grow your own food, your ass is going to be hungry. Guess what the Cubans did? They fucking grew their own food so they didn't go hungry. The Koreans essentially did not. Okay, some did, obviously. You have things set up a different way, though. You have servitude. You have taxing the grain and the rice. Now, I have control as the king, as the leader, of who gets all the rice and the food. I want you to think about the systems in play that they're trying to give to us, right? Take all the grain from these people that are growing it. Think about it. The people that are growing the grain, the food, those people that are doing the hard work, that are doing what they're supposed to do, tilling the soil, growing the daily bread, those people need to have all of that taken away from them because they're greedy. They're keeping all of it to themselves. They need to give it all to us in control. We need to be in control of all of that. And then we will give it to y'all in equal portions. We'll give it to y'all, right? But no one's saying we're going to keep some for ourselves. We're going to keep some for ourselves and give some to our friends and give some to our colleagues. No, nobody says that, do they? I wonder if they're really doing that, though. No, because they're good people. We voted for those good people. It says on the TV they're good people. The movies, they say they're good people, and the radio says they're good people. NPR says those people are the ones that are watching out for you and me. Please, y'all. I mean, I understand that I'm being a bit of a fucking dick right now and a condescending prick. That's my character. I'm sorry. That's why I've been gifted with these abilities and this certain language in order to accost your thoughts. Fuck them up, if you will, man. I'm not out to call you any names, and I'm just here to say, look, open your fucking eyes, y'all. Look at the patterns. I love you guys, and I meant to step on a few toes. I appreciate you guys listening. And I'm sorry it's been so long since I have come out. I've been dealing with a lot of energy issues, and I've been in some dark fucking places since Waffles died, you know? I don't have anything to keep my heart filled with love anymore, you know? I was forced to have to reach out to the all and to everybody. I stepped back and I got to the stage where, you know, I had what kept me content. So I had to be stripped of everything that kept me content so I can do the things that I needed to do while I'm here. And I understand why all of it happened and why I was pushed in these ways. And when you're in a dark place, I mean, you need to understand that you're not there permanently. You need to do what you need to do to get out of that dark place, because it's not up to anybody else to take you the fuck out of that dark room. It's up to you to become that light and to light your fucking path. With that being said, you guys take the fuck care of yourselves over the next few months. The rest of this year is going to see some crazy events and changes. They're going to start trying to push all kinds of gun laws. There's going to be mass shootings again. There's going to be, our dollars are steadily going to be purchasing less and less. You're going to see gasoline prices go up. You're going to see ammunition and gun prices skyrocket again and go away. You know, all of these toilet paper things disappears. You're going to start seeing this stuff happen over the course of the next year tenfold. What you've been seeing was kind of the test run. And what you are going to have to do is step up and demand change. Demand that this is not acceptable. This is not the way I want to live. This is not the America my grandfather and my forefathers have fought for, y'all. This is what we need to do at this stage. We are being controlled and manipulated and taxed and controlled and accosted to the point where we need to step forward non-violently, because essentially all we need to do is use our monetary system differently. We need to think about money being the bullets. Our money are bullets. Our money is breaking away from the system. If we stop using their money the way that they want, and we break away from their system and start using other means of currency that is not in control of them, they lose their power. They lose their tools. They lose their mechanisms. Think about if they cannot entice these sick motherfuckers anymore with dollar bills, with book deals, with movie deals, with music contracts, right? Think about when that all goes away. Their system collapses. Their veil is lifted. The people will see what is truly going on. And we will see change, because the people will demand it. The only time things really happen is when the people demand it so. When you look at all history, it's become the people. Now, I don't want any leaders to come out of this, because when we look at individuals leading the masses, right, we start having tunnel vision. We start getting funneled back into a certain position. That's why I like how things are laid up in this country, because we don't rely on one individual or one particular house, if you will. It's broken up in order to have checks and balances. And we need checks and balances because we get a little too big for our britches, y'all. But you take care. I'm gonna go and enjoy my Sunday. Peace out, y'all. I love you.